$15,000. That's the value of a single walrus, lying motionless on the Arctic ice. Enough to feed an entire village where the sun disappears for 40 days, and temperatures drop to minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. But to earn that blood-red treasure, the Inuit and the Chukchi must step into the most dangerous hunt on Earth, where one slip, one crack in the ice, or one charge from a one-ton beast can end everything in an instant. In their language, walrus means a gift from the ocean. Meat for eating, fat for lighting, skin for crafting, tusks for trading. For Arctic families, hunting a walrus isn't just a job, it's survival, a ritual that has kept them alive for thousands of years. But to the rest of the world, watching tons of meat carved on ice looks like a brutal crime against nature. Conservationists warn that walruses are dwindling their icy homes, melting away, their numbers falling because of climate change and hunting. So where does the truth lie? Are walruses still a sacred source of life, or victims of greed and the black market for ivory? This is The Discover, butchering a $15,000 walrus on Arctic ice. The deadly hunt that feeds a town at the far edge of the Arctic. Fragile wooden boats slice through the freezing sea. The wind howls. The waves crash. The ice groans and cracks beneath their feet. Ahead, the massive shadow of a full-grown walrus rises through the mist. Living mountain of muscle and tusk. The Arctic Ocean is bone-chilling cold. The temperature hovers just above freezing. If someone falls in, they have less than 5 minutes before their body goes numb and life fades away. Then, a shout breaks through the storm. Now, a spear cuts through the wind. Slamming deep into the giant's hide, the frozen sea explodes into chaos. The walrus thrashes wildly, at nearly 2,000 pounds. With skin thick as armor and tusks, over 3 feet long, just one strike could crush the boat. But the old hunter stands firm, gripping his spear, waiting for the beast to surface again, to breathe. This is where courage meets survival, where every heartbeat echoes against the endless white. There it is. The shout echoes through the icy wind. The spear cuts the air like lightning, driving deep into the giant's flesh. The frozen sea erupts into chaos. The walrus lets out a roar so loud it shakes the air. It thrashes violently, sending waves towering high enough to swallow the tiny boat. The ropes stretch to their limits, seconds away from snapping. Hunters brace themselves, boots sliding on cracking ice. Every move of the beast is deadly. One mistake, one moment of hesitation and death will come as fast as the Arctic wind. Heat, heat, they shout, keeping the blood flowing, keeping life in motion. No one can afford to wait. In this frozen hell, every minute counts. If the carcass freezes solid, the treasure turns to ice. Worthless and gone. The hunters move fast. The work begins immediately. Under the dim gray sky, sharp steel glints. The sound of metal slicing through armor-thick hide fills the air. Each strike reveals layers of ivory white fat beneath the tough brown skin. The rhythm of survival steel, bone, and breath. The sound is raw, flesh tearing apart, bones cracking under the heavy blows. Chunks of crimson meat, dozens of pounds each, are cut and stacked upon the cold ice. Steam rises from the fresh kill, mixing with the smell of blood, salt, and sea. The wind carries it all harsh, but sacred. The men drag the heavy meat toward the ice cellars, step by step, while the women gather the rich fat, cutting it into blocks for storage, or melting it down to oil the fire of the Arctic. Outside, the children stand wide-eyed, their breath visible in the cold air, watching every move, not just a task, but a lesson, their first understanding of what survival means here, to take only what the sea gives, and to respect it. On the ice, the white tusk over 3 feet long stands upright like a monument. A symbol of victory and of life reclaimed from death. No one cheers. Instead, silence falls, a solemn tribute to the spirit of the animal and to the sea that gave it. Nothing goes to waste. Every part of the walrus is used. Meat for food, fat for heat, skin for tools, bones for carving. Even in death, it continues to give life. In their language, the walrus is not prey. It is a gift of the ocean. Children grow up tasting its meat. Oil lamps burn through the long Arctic night with its fat. Even ancient rituals are tied to its strength. For the Inuit, hunting is not just a job, it's a sacred ritual. a living bond between generations. But now, that tradition faces its greatest test. The Arctic ice is melting twice as fast as scientists predicted. Resting grounds vanish. Herds grow smaller. Yet even as the numbers fall, the demand for ivory continues, fueled by greed, collectors, and the shadows of the black market. And the hunters of the north are caught in between survival and extinction. The Inuit say they hunt only what they need to survive, but conservation organizations warn if this continues, the walrus could vanish from the earth forever. Two sides, one truth buried beneath the ice. Between these opposing worlds, one haunting question remains. Where do we draw the line between the human right to survive and the right of an ancient wild species to exist? The Arctic sun sinks slowly beyond the horizon, painting the ice in shades of crimson. Walrus tusks stand upright like frozen monuments, trophies, and at the same time, symbols of a fragile exchange between life and death, between mankind and nature. And the question lingers in the cold air. Are we witnessing a living tradition of survival continuing through the ages, or the final toll of a civilization standing at the edge of the world? But the walrus is not the only giant that feeds the people of the frozen north. If the walrus is the ocean's gift to a single village, then the whale is the treasure that can feed an entire nation. $100,000. That's the value of a full-grown whale, a behemoth of the deep, both a giver of life and a symbol of controversy. For Arctic coastal communities, it means food, warmth, and survival. For the rest of the world, it means outrage, an unforgivable act against nature. To the Inuit, whales are the spirits of the sea. Their meat helps them endure the endless winter. Their fat becomes oil burning bright to warm the huts. Their massive bones form the frames of their homes. Their skin and tendons are shaped into tools for the hunt. But out here, in a land without supermarkets, without fields, where the cold can kill a person in less than 5 minutes, those who judge from afar forget one simple truth. Moral debates don't fill empty stomachs. Ideals don't keep children warm. Here, every throw of a harpoon isn't about greed. It's a matter of survival. The Arctic Ocean rolls beneath the pale sky. On small, fragile wooden boats, Inuit hunters follow the shadow of a humpback whale, a living mountain moving through the freezing mist, weighing more than 40 tons, stretching over 50 feet long. Each swing of its tail could splinter the boat like driftwood. Still, the old hunter grips his harpoon, eyes fixed, waiting for that single moment when the giant surfaces to breathe. Then, the cry cuts through the air. Now, the spear whistles through the wind, piercing the whale's glistening skin. The sea explodes in chaos once again. A battle as old as the Arctic itself. The sea explodes into chaos once again. The giant whale thrashes violently, its massive tail carving walls of water into the freezing air. The waves rise like moving cliffs, crashing against the trembling boat. The ropes pull tight, screaming under the strain. The boat rocks back and forth, wooden planks creaking, moments away from breaking apart. One wrong move, one slip of the hand, and everything, the crew, the dream, the hunt would sink to the bottom of the ocean. After long, grueling hours of struggle, the mighty whale finally weakens. Its strength fades, its massive body growing still. Slowly, red blood spreads across the icy surface, a crimson mirror of both victory and cost. Not a second is wasted. The whale, weighing tens of tons, is pulled toward the ice bank. steel knives flash under the pale Arctic light, slicing through the thick hide, exposing great slabs of glistening white fat. Each cut echoes across the frozen air, like a slash in time, a mark of human survival written in blood. Hundreds of pounds of meat are lifted and stacked upon the ice. The fat is drained, collected carefully, soon to become oil, the fire that will keep the village alive through endless nights of darkness. Soon, the entire community gathers. Men divide the meat with quiet precision. Women collect and process the fat. Children stand at the edge of the crowd, watching in silence, relearning the ritual their ancestors have practiced for 1,000 years. Every part of the whale is used. Nothing is wasted. From flesh to fat, from bone to tendon. Each piece serves a purpose in the cycle of Arctic life. But once again, the same question drifts over the cold horizon. Who has the greater right? The humans who fight to survive, or the whales who fight to live? Heat, heat. The hunters shout, a cry that echoes through generations, from walruses to whales, both Arctic giants, forever bound to the fate of humankind. In the frozen wilderness, a single walrus can feed an entire village. A single whale can sustain a whole community through the long, merciless winter. And it's these very scenes, blood on the ice, flesh against the wind, that have ignited a storm of global controversy. For the Inuit, this is heritage, a cultural rite, a sacred rhythm of survival. But for much of the world, it's seen as cruelty as the face of extinction. And so the question remains, suspended in the Arctic air, are we witnessing an ancient tradition enduring against all odds? Or hearing the final bell, marking the disappearance of the giants at the end of the earth? Only the wind, the sea, and the ice know the answer, and they remain silent. In the past 50 years, the Arctic has lost more than 75% of its summer sea ice. For walruses, that means the ice floes, once their resting platforms, have vanished. Now, they're forced to swim farther and dive deeper for food, while mothers struggle to protect their calves on shrinking slabs of melting ice. In Alaska's Chukchi Sea, satellite data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration shows walrus herds crowding the shoreline by the tens of thousands, a desperate migration never seen before the 2000s. When startled, hundreds rush toward the water at once, crushing the young beneath them, a tragic consequence of a changing world. Whales, too, are not spared. Commercial whaling may have been banned since 1986, but illegal hunts and bycatch in industrial nets still take hundreds each year. The North Atlantic right whale, once numbering 20,000, now has fewer than 300 surviving in the wild. For the Inuit, these aren't just statistics. They are warnings that a way of life passed down through millennia now stands on melting ground. Their ancestors followed the ice. Today, the ice itself is disappearing. Between survival and sustainability lies a fragile balance, and the Arctic, more than anywhere else on Earth, reminds us that every choice we make echoes beyond the horizon, because here, what melts at the pole eventually touches every shore.